if you had told me that was going to happen, I would have been like, oh God, I cannot deal with that. I can't do it. But like in the moment, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Like you just have to get through it. Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And welcome back to another episode of Pickles and Vodka, the mental health podcast where we show up week after week because we love you.
Aww.
I'm Christina, one of your co-hosts.
I'm Lauren, your other co-host.
Lauren, where are you at today?
Let's see. So, the boyfriend had his shoulder surgery yesterday.
Okay.
And today seems to be okay so far. That's actually why I wanted to record a little early. Like, he was actually, yesterday was just, because I was making potential plans for us on Sunday, and I was like, you can let me know, if you feel like going out or not when it gets closer. And he was like, oh, I was planning to go to the bar tomorrow night like usual.
The liquor store bar?
Well, we will not be doing that because, first of all, I have to smear his name on the podcast. Taco has ruined his perfect streak.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about your boyfriend at
No.
first.
But I woke up at about 3 a.m. feeling like the start of a migraine and also hearing somebody peeing.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So,
was it like in the bed?
No, but it was on the rug, which bummed me out. I was like, man, couldn't you have done it on the hardwood floor?
Oh, that's the worst. It's like when I wake up in the middle of the night and I can hear a cat like puking.
Puking? I know.
Yeah.
I knew exactly.
Oh, every pet owner has that moment.
Yep. So there was that, but also, like I said, it was like feeling like the start of a migraine, and by the time I got done with that, I was just kind of like, so I've had some form of a headache for 11 hours, so maybe I won't drink tonight.
Probably a good idea.
Yep. I was going to say, because I had therapy yesterday too, and yesterday was the surgery day, and how do I want to say this without sounding like an asshole?
You can be an asshole in here.
Okay.
This is an asshole safe space. If you're Lauren.
Yeah, it was kind of, and like I said, not happening today. Everything seems cool, but yesterday I was afraid, like, this is going to go how I thought it was going to, isn't it? Because it was like, so of course, I want him to let me know when it's done. And he did. He texts me when it's done and says, like, I'm home now, just going to sleep off the rest of the drugs. So I'm just like, great, that's what I need to set my mind at ease. They didn't accidentally operate on the wrong shoulder and you didn't bleed out or anything like that. I'm happy with this information. But I got a phone call from him later when I was about to head out to therapy, and that's what I just said. I was like, oh, like, I'm heading out. And he's like, oh, didn't know if you were calling for anything. It's like, just calling to see if you wanted to check on me or something like that. And I was like, dude.
Oh, my God.
What I wanted to share from this, because I talked about this then in therapy, I was like, so I've been working on this metaphor about how this kind of goes. And I was like, just so you know, I don't think that I do a lot of things great, but I am bomb at metaphors. I was like, I came up with a good one. And so,
oh, I can't wait. We haven't had a good Lauren metaphor in a while.
We'd been talking about this a couple of weeks ago too, how I was just kind of like, look, he's expecting certain things from me, and and not the first person in my life too, but it's just kind of like, people do not understand, as we talked about, I've been the only person who's had to take care of myself all my life, so I don't have a lot of energy always for what extra other people want. And I told her, I was like, say that you're working in a shop where you have to build something. I thought maybe like a bicycle. And in this shop, everyone has to build this bicycle in the same amount of time, but there's like 3 teams of 3 that have to complete a bicycle. And then there's me, a team of 1, that's supposed to complete this bicycle in the same amount of time. And okay, I figure out how to do it. And, and I'm ready to like work hard and build my bicycle, even though I got to do it all by myself when they all have help. And then someone comes in and says, whoa, I need another bicycle built. And is looking at everyone and points at me and is like, and I want her to do it.
And the other people, like their bikes came with clear instructions and they have like a team of experts to help them. And they're like, why aren't you building it as fast as I am?
Yeah, when they've had to do the equivalent, then they've had people helping them. And now, like they need theirs and they see all these.
And they want feedback on their bicycle. They want you to give them feedback on their bicycle.
And they see all these groups of 3 people like helping each other out to build a bike and me just struggling to get mine. And they're like, she needs to do mine.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Why is it so accurate?
Because this is what I'm good at, like I said.
I feel like, especially men, they're helpless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, weaponized incompetence, that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's not new, but...
Like, that stuff doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I feel like the annoying thing is knowing that there are other people in his life who are willing to help, and they probably have people helping them build their bicycles. So I'm just kind of like, you can't expect it all from me. It's not like you have no one else.
In a relationship in general, I think it's good not to lean on that person only 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just too much pressure for one person.
Yeah.
Have you talked to him about it?
No, because
I guess you talked about it in therapy.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, since we were talking about all this, I brought up at the end, is I was like, so I was wondering, I'm not suggesting necessarily couples therapy. I'm just saying, like, you are the person that's on my side. And I think it'd be good for him to hear from you. Would I ever be able to bring him in if he's willing? And she was like, absolutely. Completely. So that's a go as long as he's up for it, which I said I feel like he would be, especially if I explain why, because he's not opposed to therapy.
I should hope not.
Yeah. If not, you're with the wrong girl.
Yeah.
Because she needs it.
Man, that sounds frustrating as fuck. Also, totally random, but my mom also had shoulder surgery today.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even kidding.
That's crazy. What happened to her?
Oh, God. I don't know exactly without referring to the group chat that I kind of turn a blind eye to. Something with her rotator cuff, I think.
Okay.
Therapy's going well, though?
Yeah. She did have to cancel last week. And I don't know, you probably saw this. I did say this much on Peach, where I was saying, like, when I made the decision to go back with her, then, it's like, I know she said she'd worked on things, so she hopefully wouldn't be canceling last minute, which she didn't. She gave me 2 days warning, and hopefully won't be canceling all the time. But I was just like, also, I feel like someone can have the best intentions, but I had to know going in, I'm like, she is who she is. She can say this, but she is still going to cancel. And when this was happening to me before, I mean, this is in the middle of when I really needed to be getting my ass back in treatment, and a lot of other things were just like failing, and I was super depressed. And so it felt like losing a lifeline every time that would happen. Like,
yeah,
how can you do this to me? Don't you know that I'm hanging on by a thread? So when I decided to go back, then I also felt like I was like, unless she cancels, last minute all the time or like 3 times in a row, then I was just like, I don't think I'm in that place anymore. And I'm not. So that was good,
You didn't sound very confident when you said that.
Oh, no, I mean it. Because, yeah, when I saw that, it was like, oh, well, I'm disappointed because I probably had some things to talk about, but I know that we have another session scheduled in 5 days, so that's fine. So the fact that it can be that instead of, just being like, I'm not going to make it. Look what you did to me.
Right.
Tells me again. And then it's like, it's the right decision to be back with her.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
How's your mental health been in general this week?
It's been, I guess, okay. I think we mentioned this maybe last week because I'm not going home for Christmas at all. And, in some ways that kind of helps, takes a lot of stress off.
Totally.
That kind of makes this time a little bit easier.
Yeah, less pressure for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, if I'm going to go back. I'm probably going to end up hitching a ride with my sister and going back for a few days. I don't know.
If you do want something, I don't know if this paints the boyfriend in a better light, but at least I didn't get any negative reaction from it. I mean, I don't know what he knew what to say, but...
Oh, God.
So last week on our show, I ended up sharing the story of the first time I was sexually assaulted. And, he and I went out afterwards, and I wasn't thinking of that then. And we did end up, having sex later that night. And
you have sex?
I was just going to say, sorry.
What?
Sorry, podcast listeners, I'm not a virgin.
Stop the podcast.
Right.
Right now. People cover your ears.
Taco. Yeah, he's not even paying attention. But, since we had talked about that, obviously that day, then you don't know. And it's just kind of like in the middle. Then suddenly it was just like that conversation all came back to me. And I just was like, oh my God, stop right now. And I know I was kind of like really confused. And that's what I just said is I was like, sorry about that. But, we talked about this in recording. I talked about the first time I was sexually assaulted. And I was just there for all of a sudden, like, I can't keep doing this right now. I'm just like, okay, I get it.
That's hard. Did you talk to him more about it afterwards or?
No.
I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, but.
Right. Yeah, I guess that was a part that I was a little disappointed in, but that is kind of his way too, and I feel like something else maybe I have to say like, hey, can you try and be better about this? And maybe kind of like a lot of guys in general that are just kind of like, I'll just wait, you share what you're ready for. It's like, well, some things it'd be nice if you'd, I don't know, even ask like, do you want to share?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Because it's all true.
Most of the guys that I was with when I was dating guys were like pretty interested in my mental health. Like one guy in particular, he did a lot of research into bulimia the week we met because he didn't know much about it. And that was really touching. Yeah. Actually, because it's just like, oh, he gives a fuck about what I'm going through. Imagine that.
Right.
But I mean, I know that was the first time you had talked about that assault at all, like on the podcast, and I'm guessing like in real life. And so that must have been hard for you to bring it up in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, things like that. Like, obviously, I'd successfully pushed it out of my head for the most part for decades, and then we happened to bring it up, and I wasn't thinking about it when we're out, and it wasn't even until, like, in the middle, and then it just suddenly, like, that conversation just, like, reappeared, fully formed in my brain, and I was like, whoa, I can't think about this and do this right now.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're so used to talking about very heavy topics in a lighthearted manner that we kind of forget how much of an impact it has talking about this stuff regularly. Yeah. Especially things of that nature.
Yeah, I kind of, like brought it up, and us talking about it made me sort of like have to relive it. And so, yeah, it's pretty fresh right at this exact moment.
I was even thinking about it afterwards. I was like, man, I almost feel like I should have checked in with you after or like talked about aftercare or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought of that too. Like I said, when that happened later that night, it's like, yeah, I guess when you process traumatic things that happened to you a long time ago and you haven't processed in a long time, you're supposed to kind of, be nice to yourself or do something.
My therapist always asks me like what I'm going to do after sessions because they're often really intense. And my go-to answer is I'm going to go on a walk.
Which doesn't surprise me, but that's good. Yeah.
I actually just got back from a walk. And my nose is still like frozen.
So where are you at?
Well, it snowed this week here.
Okay.
Which really lifted my mood. I love snow. We lived in Connecticut for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And it would snow like 3 feet at a time. And I just have such fond memories of being a kid and like playing in the snow.
I feel like I didn't know that we had such similar feelings on snow.
Really? Well, it doesn't snow much. Where I've been, I haven't really experienced a lot of snow. When I visited you in 2022 in St. Louis, it was snowing a lot.
That was so much. It does not usually snow here either.
Yeah, I was kind of delighted, except for the fact that I had to drive in it.
And that my heat didn't work in my apartment.
Yeah, that might have put a damper on things. But yeah, I mean, I've been really depressed this week. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to just kind of become a kid again for just a second. My sister and I have a balcony that we share with our next door neighbor, but he's never out there. So it's basically our balcony.
Nice.
And when it snowed, she was like, just come out in your tank top with me and let's take stupid pictures.
Oh, wow.
And so we did a little photo shoot in the snow and it was really silly and it was really fun.
Aww.
I highly recommend people to do that. Something really silly. But yeah, with that said, that was the high point of my week. I've been really depressed, like unable to get out of bed, depressed, want to be unconscious every second, depressed. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the reason is money. Big shocker. I talk about it all the time.
We talk about how that is a valid reason.
Yeah, and I talked about it in therapy today, so I won't talk about it too much here because I'd just be repeating myself. But it's really hard right now. My self-esteem is really low. But one thing I actually kind of want to get your feedback on is this fucking essay I'm supposed to be writing for the eating disorder anthology. I have not been able to settle on a single topic.
Okay.
I want to do it on harm reduction, I think, because for the majority of my life with my eating disorder, I didn't even know harm reduction was a thing.
Right.
And I went all these years thinking I was a failure because I couldn't recover completely. And so I don't know. I think that's important to hear about, but also there's the gender stuff that I feel like I could talk about. When my mom got a breast reduction surgery.
Oh, yeah.
And that ended up kind of triggering me unexpectedly. I don't know. You know when you have a bunch of ideas and you feel equally attached to all of them?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just pick one?
Give me just a second.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Da, 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 da. Oh, I have seltzer left. Kroger makes a great peach sparkling water, by the way. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Okay, I found it. That book that I wanted to suggest to you.
Oh my God, yes!
So this is a book that I found when I visited a live journal friend, not Vicky, in Seattle. I was going there and I was going to attend her wedding the first time I meet her.
How have we not really talked about this on the podcast?
I don't know. We've talked because we've had Vicky guest, and I think her and I have done more of the live journal talking stuff. But I was young to mid-20s then, and she had a few different people coming in from around different parts of the country, and she wanted to spend a little alone time with everyone, which makes sense because some of them were like me. It's like we're meeting for the first time. So she asked me if she could just drop me off in Seattle to entertain myself while she picked up another friend from the airport. And I was like, I love that. That's the kind of thing I like to do.
Same.
And so I just, wandered around, and there was a little independent bookshop, and I picked up this book. It is called The Playful Way to Serious Writing. And the author is called Roberta Allen, if you want to look it up. But I wanted to pull it up so I could just kind of give you some examples. There's all these exercises. Sometimes she has pictures, photos in there. This one I just opened to, it says, "Why is she smiling?" And it shows a middle-aged woman, and she's just kind of got her hand in her chin looking to the side, and she is, kind of smiling. And it says, "When I photographed this woman, she had recently left her husband. Is that why she's smiling? Or is there another reason? Set your timer for 15 minutes and write about it."
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, this one is called False Memories. It says, "Imagine 5 characters accomplishing exactly what each one set out to do." And she does always say the most energy. She says, "Pick the one that has the most energy, set your timer for 5 minutes, and write a piece."
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's just filled with things like that. And it just, it gets you putting something on a paper. So I just thought it's really cool.
I don't really write fiction, but I used to. So I've often wondered if I should try returning to that genre just, for funsies. Because I feel like there's a lot of cool exercises you can do with that.
Yeah, and lots of stuff in this book can definitely be used for fiction or nonfiction. Like I said, it's just to get you putting something on a paper, and, maybe you'll read what you wrote and you'll underline something and be like, wow, that's the thing I want to write about.
That's amazing. Oh my God. I'm going to check that out.
Okay.
Well, yeah, this morning I was sitting at the coffee table writing, and I didn't know what to write about. And so I literally just wrote about sitting at the coffee table writing. And then that led to something else I was thinking about. And then that led to something else I remembered. And then all of a sudden I was writing about harm reduction. And I'm like, man, sometimes you just have to start writing.
Yes.
Shocker.
And that's what I was thinking of this too, because I was like, I think you have great ideas. Of course, I know you're very passionate about harm reduction and be a great thing for you to write about. But what if you, just do this little free write and realize, wow, actually I have a ton to say about this topic that I hadn't even thought of.
That's what I miss about being in school, is getting assignments. Because maybe this has to do with being ADHD, but if the stakes aren't high enough, I often just won't do something.
I agree, because I feel the same way about, like you said, I used to write a lot of fiction too. And sometimes I think about it, and sometimes I have some ideas, and I'm like, that could maybe really go somewhere. I should try it again. But yeah, I have no class to write for.
Yeah, and I try giving myself deadlines, but it's like I know that they're not real deadlines, and so I don't have the same sense of urgency.
Yeah, I've tried to do that to learn new piano pieces I know, but I just end up like then playing the same ones that I know all the time.
Oh, that's a cool thing. I can wrap up my where you're at. I learned a really difficult Chopin prelude this week.
Oh, cool.
And I'm really proud of myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Thanks. So for today's episode, I know I said I was going to pick a topic, but we got a voicemail from Orion that I think warrants a whole discussion.
I agree.
So with that said, we're just going to play it now. And trigger warning for pet death, I suppose.
I'm ready.
Hope you're doing okay today. And if you're not, I hope we can talk about it because I really appreciate you chatting in my ear, especially this month. Hopefully Christina will preview this, but I want to just give a little story about how my month is going. Today is December 11th, and literally December 1st, my pet bunny, little homie, got very suddenly sick and died overnight. And I've just been kind of figuring out all of that. I guess that's how I've been talking about it. I don't even know how I feel about this because there's just so much to kind of figure out now. But there's, it's not so much as like an open bleeding wound as it is like getting a tooth pulled out. And now there's just like an empty space and it's kind of numb. I've felt a lot, but I've been numb and just busy. And it's so uncomfortable to kind of sit with the reality of that because honestly, it's a big fear losing a pet. I know it feels different for everybody because everybody's relationships with their own pet is so different. And I'm trying to remind myself of that when I'm trying to figure out how to react in this situation because there's no like script for me to follow. And I feel like there's supposed to be when I tell people about it, they have responses and I don't really know what I want to hear from them. Like in my situation, a feeling I've been encountering a lot is shame and just feeling like what did I do wrong? Should I have done something differently? And like it doesn't matter. I know in the end, like it doesn't change the outcome thing. And I'm trying to avoid reckoning with just like the completely unchangeable fact of this new reality that I'm living in. And that's kind of what grief in this way looks like for me in that loss. Do I feel shame because I feel like I should have been a better pet owner and I should have done this and that while she was alive and she would have been happier and she wouldn't have died. But I mean, ultimately, I don't know if everything is out of my control. And that's something that I'm kind of mulling in my head. And then just dealing with everything afterward. Like, what do I do with all of everything left over? What do I do with my time? And how do I talk to people about it has been hard. I don't know if people are being sympathetic just because I've gone through this thing and they have their idea in their head about how, someone would feel after losing a pet, regardless of the circumstances. And then there's like the kind of confusion that I have. I don't know. I haven't been just sobbing on the floor and shaky and unable to like do anything, or I haven't been immobily depressed. Like I've still gone out and done the things that I was going to do and getting my responsibilities done, and I'm taking care of myself and other people. And I'm like, I'm doing okay in all those ways. And I'm like, should I be less okay? Like, this is such like a ginormous fear that I felt like I would never survive. Like it would make me sick to even just consider this. And now everything most of life just feels normal except for like this thing. So that's weird. I guess this is just like a strange month for a lot of people in a lot of ways. I'm getting, all the nostalgic and like childhood memories and stuff. And then like, this is also something very new and I don't really know where anything's going. And there are a lot of things that I feel differently about than when I started this month going into. But I'm still like showing up in however I can, I guess. I know you're probably recording the podcast today, but you don't have to like play these messages on the recording because it's not like this is all just like about me. And this is just my personal business. So it's not really relevant to anyone else. But I just wanted to, if Lauren lost Pico, and Christina has also gone through something like this recently. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's just a really weird situation, isn't it? Thanks for talking. I don't think that if you guys hadn't talked about it in a way that I could hear, then I don't think I would have been as prepared for experiencing this. And, it's something that does happen, and no matter how we react to it. So, yeah, I'm sending your Christmas cards out today. So be checking your mail, and don't die before you get them, okay? I would love to know if you have like a distinct past holiday memory that you could share with the class, like the traumatizing childhood story or even adulthood story. That's like, that was the bad Christmas. Like, what did that look like for you? The people must know. The people need some solidarity.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot to comment on.
I took a bunch of notes last night when I listened to it, and I even jotted down a few more listening to it again.
Normally, I don't send you the voice messages ahead of time because I want your reaction to be fresh, but this one I thought you should have a warning at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was glad you did.
Yeah, so the floor is yours.
First of all, grief is so fucking weird, and
yeah,
you do not know how to navigate it, and you don't know what to expect. This is something I don't think that I said before, like when I was going through the stuff with Pico, but like I'd been thinking for a few years, I would have loved to get a second dog. I wanted the excitement of, like picking out a dog again, getting to know them and everything, but it was hard enough for me taking care of one. So it just felt like I really don't think that I can try to introduce a second one to my life when it is still just me and working full time and all this stuff. And, and I'd have to see how two react to each other and everything. So one of my very first thoughts when I saw the scene was, oh, I get to look for a second dog or another dog. And I mean, it wasn't, like great, obviously, but there was no way, like that was just a thought that came into my head. I think because I'd had, this is in like the first 15 seconds. Like I had no clue how to even process what I was seeing yet.
Right.
So you don't even understand like the thoughts that are coming into your head. And believe me, I felt like instant awful guilt for that thought, even though like there's no way I could have stopped it. And of course, afterwards it was just like, I mean, even sometimes now, I'm just kind of like, oh, I love Taco and he's sweet. But, if there was some way that I could change and just have Pico back, I would.
Of course. And people don't talk about that. Like, you do have the weirdest reactions in situations like that. Like, grief is so weird and it's out of your control. Like Orion mentioned how he wished there was a script you could follow.
Yeah.
But reality is, like, not only is there not a script, but how you end up reacting is sometimes not even appropriate to you. And there's no wrong reaction.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. That it's like later when you can examine it, then you feel like that's not an appropriate reaction. But you can't. Your body's like doing it like outside of your will at that point.
Yeah. And that's why grief is so shitty, because it is different for everyone, and like in some ways it feels like you don't have any control of it. You just kind of have to give yourself over to it and let it run away with you, and that's terrifying.
Because the other thing I was thinking of how like I didn't really cry about it immediately, I think because it was just so numb. I just like I mean I felt like I was gonna be sick, but it wasn't really until the next morning. And this happened at the boyfriend's house, and I'd stayed overnight. We'd stayed in his room away from his dog. And when I had plans the next morning, it was like I was going to go back to my place. A friend was going to meet me there, and then he was going to come over in a couple hours when he finished up some things around the place. And I walked out to get like my overnight bag that I brought over there and my purse, and then sitting right on his table was Pico's leash.
Aww.
And like that was the moment that made me break down. Like as soon as I saw it, and I just like picked it up and I was like, hey.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And like for you, I'm curious, now that you have some distance from it, what do you think you wanted to hear from people / what did you actually hear from people / like what do you think you needed at the time? That's kind of 3 questions all rolled into one. But
I might have to think about that more, but I know when Orion was talking about that kind of stuff, what I actually was thinking about is, he was saying things like, I feel like people are reacting the way that they think they should and are expecting you to react a certain way to a pet death. And what it made me think of actually was how I felt after my sister died.
well, yeah.
Because we've talked about it in the past, like, she was my sister, but not a sister I had a relationship with.
Right.
But it feels, like people here, like, oh, you're 10 years old and your sister who's only 3 years older than you just died. You should be feeling this way and this way. And I know I should, I guess, because that's what you think when someone says, their sister who they've lived with for the past 10 years just died. But I don't, because it wasn't like that.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you still have to deal with that kind of stuff because every time you tell someone, I bet you get that reaction.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I don't volunteer that information readily, because I feel like every single time, then you have to get everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It had to be so horrible for you. And just kind of like, at that time, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. It's like they expect you to be this tragic figure,
Mm-hmm.
when in reality, you could just be numb, or you might not even, you didn't have that kind of relationship with her. And so their perception of what you're feeling couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
But it feels callous to say that,
Right. Like, you can't just say like, well, no, at the time I really didn't care that much. And I mean, we've talked about this, how it's kind of like, especially because I also was 10 years old. So, I've said things like, as an adult, it's kind of affected me more because, we've talked about like me seeing your relationship with your sisters and thinking like, man, I could have had that. Things had all been different. It's like that stuff makes me sad when I'm older. But yeah, when I was a 10-year-old kid that had no relationship with this person, then no.
That is also something to talk about, is how grief changes over time too, like years later sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I haven't had any significant deaths, but I have this year.
Yeah.
And the more time that goes on, it doesn't, like, the pain doesn't get any less. It just kind of changes shape. Like when Dawn died, obviously it was the acute pain was huge. It was like,
yeah,
I miss this person. Like, how can she not be here? But then, now that it's been over a year, I wonder what she would be doing right now, and like what kind of things she would be posting to Peach, and like if things would still be hard for her, and like all these things that ultimately are pointless to think about because it's not going to change the fact.
Yeah, but you can't help it because you do it like it is. It's going to come in your mind thinking like, yeah, I mean, this person should be here. I should know what she thinks of what's going on now and everything.
Yeah. And I'm sure, as we all grow over the years, that grief is going to change too. And there is no guidebook. Like, there's no script. So the incident Orion was referring to with me, this happened last year. I was watching a friend's rabbit and it died suddenly. And I don't even know if I talked about it on the podcast much.
You at least told me, but I had forgotten about that.
I was really vague about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was watching a friend's rabbit and yeah, I walked upstairs to feed it and it was just dead.
Ugh.
On the ground, and I had to call my friend and tell them that their rabbit was dead and listen to them, screaming and crying on the phone.
Uh-huh.
And it was really traumatic. And, it wasn't my loss per se, but I felt really shitty. Like, I did feel shame. Like, even though there wasn't anything I could have done, like, rabbits have really, really sensitive, like, delicate systems.
Yes.
They do die suddenly sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing you can do about it. But I felt a lot of guilt.
I'm sure.
And how I manifested that guilt was I just like started cleaning their house and I like cooked soup
Mm-hmm.
and I did all this stuff while I was waiting for them to drive home. I just sprung into action. Like, that's how I dealt with it. And it's like, obviously it wasn't my animal, but now that I do have some space from it, I can acknowledge, oh yeah, that was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
And like, if you had told me that was going to happen, I would have been like, oh God, I cannot deal with that. I can't do it. But like, in the moment, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Like, you just have to get through it.
I mean, obviously, that was how I felt about my situation. It was like I was preparing for someday I'm going to have to put him down.
Yeah.
But I never would have thought, I could survive something like that.
Exactly.
But it's like you said, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, there's that saying in Christianity, it's like God doesn't, what is it?
I don't know, give you more than you can handle or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but I do kind of think that's true. Like, I don't believe in God, obviously, but I do think there's some things that, like, the only way you know how you're going to react is by going through it.
Yeah.
Like, the death of parents, for instance. Like, neither of us have lost a parent yet.
Yeah.
And that's going to be traumatic as fuck, regardless of your relationship with your parents. You know, it's a big deal.
I feel like my reverse kind of that saying, like, taking the religion out of it, I guess. But it is, like, the first thing I think of when I hear that is always just like, I think we as humans are capable of handling more than we realize.
Totally.
And I think that's what comes through in those moments.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of comforting to think of all the traumas I've gone through in the past and, like, I survived it.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes in the moment, I don't realize how traumatic it is it's like a protective thing. Like, when I was living in Seattle, I will tell my sister stories of, like, the way I used to live, and she'll just be shocked, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was really fucked up. How did I survive that? I just thought it was normal. Like, if I had known in the moment, I don't know, that would have been too much to handle. So sometimes you just like put your head down and get through it.
Like, if somebody had been able to show you beforehand, like, so in a few weeks, you're going to have to go through this, then you would have been like, oh, fuck no, there's no way I'm going to handle that. But when, like you said, when you're in the moment going through it, you don't realize until later.
I mean, it's kind of like breakups. I was thinking about this when you were talking about, like, the scene of Pico's death and, like, thinking about getting a new dog in the moment. In the past, when I've, like, broken up with someone, I do have that thought, like, oh, I get to date now. Like, I get to find someone new, and I can still be with the person and be thinking those thoughts. Like, what's wrong with me?
That makes perfect sense, though.
It's a protective mechanism.
That it's almost like, so that you don't have to think about, like, the horror going on in this exact moment, then your brain just, like, flips to something like, oh, you know how fun it is to get to know somebody new when you like them?
Yeah.
And, like, your brain just goes to that place instead.
Well, and Orion mentioned that was, like, his worst fear, was losing his rabbit. And this isn't nearly as serious, but when I was, like, 18, 19, dating my first boyfriend, that was my worst fear, was breaking up with him.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing could be worse. I was certain that I would not be able to survive it when it happened, if it happened.
But I think I know a lot of people that feel that way, so it's not that weird.
Yeah, it's not weird, but it's a little cringy when I think about it. But also, I don't, like, at that point, that was, like, the worst thing I could imagine, which, like, man, I miss those days.
True.
But yeah, I mean, the point is, like, there's no right way to go about this. Like, you just have to deal with it how you deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so unhelpful to hear. There's nothing we can say to prepare you.
Oh, that was the other thing that I was thinking this time around listening is when Orion was saying, because I've done this, and I mean, I still have to do this to myself today, is I get lost in things, you know, like, what could I have done differently? You know, like, one day a couple months ago, then I was looking at this photo of Pico and the other dog, and I saw that he had his paw up, and it looked like he had, like, the same, like, bruise on his chest that I had noticed later, and I was like, oh, so this might have happened before, and I didn't see it. I'm just kind of like, maybe if I had seen this, it would have flagged something in my brain that we should be keeping them apart, and, you know, like, I failed to notice, I failed to protect him, and all this kind of stuff, and I agree with what Orion said afterwards of, you know, like, I know that I can't dwell on that and say, like, maybe I could have prevented it, maybe I could have done something different. But also he said in his voicemail, like, this literally happened 10 days ago. So at that point I felt, like, give yourself grace for that. Let yourself feel those things, because it is. It's new grief. You can feel whatever the fuck you want. And, later maybe you can realize logically, like, okay, I can't keep beating myself up about this. But I'd say, for now, just feel things.
Yeah. Just feel things. Lauren, 2025. And he literally says, like, should I be less okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is, like, no. Like, you should, quote unquote, be as okay as you are.
Yeah, and maybe later you'll be less okay, and maybe you will be okay, but yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. There's time to be less okay later.
Yeah.
Trust us. So Orion asked for our traumatic holiday stories.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to go through a couple really fast or if you wanted to save them for next week.
We can do it now, because I had a couple things for that.
Perfect. So yeah, Lauren, what are your traumatic holiday stories?
I think both of these are things I might have talked about on past episodes, but, who doesn't love a refresh? So my mom's side of the family, they started doing when I was pretty young, like 8 or 9. My grandparents would buy us all a weekend or two before Christmas, like our whole family, a weekend in a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like, our family just got to kind of, like, hang out and chill and everything. And there was one year when I was just living with the toxic ex, and he and I had moved to kind of like a nearby city, and that was the place where they were having the whole, like, Christmas weekend thing. So I had some things to do. Like, I know one night I wasn't going to be able to stay there, but obviously we're going to be able to go for meals and things like that. And also, it's probably, like, by far the worst I ever had done in, like, the eating disorder before any time going to treatment. So, it was just kind of like I'd shut out family at that point and friends and was tanking fast. So a lot of people probably hadn't even, like, seen me in a while. So it was a dramatic difference. And I just remember that whole weekend just having to, like, basically tell people, like, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's all fine. And, like, everyone can clearly see, like, this is not fucking fine. And so, I don't know, just, like, thinking of that whole weekend and just, like, being on edge the whole time. That's one of my bad holiday memories.
I have a really similar one, actually. It was 2018. So I had just started the podcast. I had just broken up with my ex in Virginia, and I was on my way to Seattle by myself to live. And on the way to Seattle, I stopped in St. Louis, actually, for our family reunion.
Oh, yeah.
It's every 4 years. And so, yeah, the one before the one where we met.
Mm-hmm.
I was, at the time, a raging alcoholic. I had just relapsed into my bulimia after, like, 3 years of remission.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, kind of similar to you, it was the first time I'd seen a bunch of people in a long time. And it makes me cringe now to think about it because, like, I was drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
Everything was great. But, in retrospect, it must have been really obvious.
Yeah, I was going to say it probably was pretty obvious to a lot of people, like, you were not okay.
Yeah, I remember, like, taking a selfie in a full-length mirror with my youngest sister and looking at the picture afterwards and just, like, my eyes are dead and I'm so drunk. And it makes me really sad because, like, what if that's what she remembers of me,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember drinking with my mom in the hotel room, and I remember drinking in church in a restroom. And it's really painful because, I mean, we've talked about this before, how you lose out on a lot of memories because of mental illness. Specifically, like, my eating disorder, there's a lot of milestones in life that are just overshadowed by that.
Yeah.
And yeah, holidays are a great example.
Yeah.
There's a lot of holidays that are just overshadowed by my shit.
Mm-hmm. We had a couple of aunts and uncles that are clearly, like, more well off than the rest of them, and I feel like we would do, like, one fancy dinner that weekend, and they would always kind of, like, argue about who's paying the whole bill. But
God, can't relate.
right. But I remember, like, just without giving specifics, I mean, just like the minuscule meals that my days had been boiled down to, like the couple of safe foods that I could have in like the most specific little ways. And, you know, like I said, it was at like the worst point. And I remember sitting down to that meal and being like, okay, this is probably the most expensive meal that I've ever had in my life. So I guess I gotta eat it.
Yeah, that's rough because, I mean, holidays, I think there's this unspoken agreement that everyone just put on an act. Like everyone pretend that things are okay when it's the most stressful time of the year in many cases.
Yeah, because that weekend we've talked about too, I think, before, like it was right after the boyfriend at the time and I had like a fight because he was just frustrated with me and expecting me to, I don't know, be and do and change everything. It felt like he wasn't willing to put any effort in. And that's what I was upset about. And I ended up digging my fingernails into the outsides of my hands. So I had like these huge like scars from that. And I remember the boyfriend being like so upset because one of my cousins around my age saw that and was like, what did you do to your hand? And I had to just, you know, like immediately make something up. And, you know, the boyfriend yelled at me later. He was like, I feel like he was like glaring at me after that, like, why aren't you taking care of her? And I was like, well,
what the fuck?
It was from you.
Oh, God. Oh, that's...
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. I feel so sad for you now, like, past you.
Yeah.
Ugh, fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like as a kid, my Christmases were great. It's mostly as an adult that they've been difficult. I have one final story that I debated on whether I would share.
Oh, good. You do. And then I had one extra thought on this, too.
Okay, so this was a few years ago. I was visiting Virginia from Seattle, and basically, we were at the dinner table. My mom was drinking, and this is why I didn't know if I should share this, because, you know, my mom is doing so much better now. I love her. She's amazing. This story doesn't paint her in the best light. But, you know, she doesn't listen, so whatever. We got in a fight, and it was about, like, my youngest sister was about to graduate high school, and my mom was trying to convince her to go to the Christian college where my dad works because it was free. And my brother and his wife had graduated from that college, and they were bringing up to my sister, well, you know, there might be better schools you can go to. And my mom got so offended, and she thought they were, like, attacking the school. And then I said, remind me, Mom, which school did you go to? Because she didn't go to college. Yeah, it just doesn't paint any of us in a good light. And so then, yeah, she had a breakdown. I stormed out. I told Caroline, my sister, that I really wanted to drink. And so she, like, took me to the beach, and we just, like, walked on the beach at night and looked at Christmas lights. But while we were gone, my mom started texting everyone. And I have this screenshot of a text she sent my brother. I'm really sorry for all that transpired this evening. Christina vehemently hates all that Christ stands for and all that our Savior represents in this world and in this home. I let that get to me tonight, and I'm truly sorry for my wrong reactions. We'll get through this. We always do. Please forgive me and pray for me as I press on.
Oh, boy.
I know. I mean, it's funny now. Like, she laughs about it now, but yeah, that was a crazy Christmas.
That's good, because that kind of, I feel like, because mine was just a general thing, but that kind of, the whole idea of, like, families imploding around the holidays, I'm like, that kind of leads into it, which is why I always liked Christmas better than Thanksgiving.
Besides the food thing?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't even weigh in. Because I feel like a lot of people like Thanksgiving better, which does make sense, because gift pressure can be a lot. I understand that, you know, and I agree. But I said, my family, particularly, like, my dad's sisters, are all, they can fly off the handle easily. They can be very volatile. They're very emotional people. They let their lives be ruled by their emotions. They're not great at planning. So, it was when I realized I like Christmas better, because I was like, I feel like I can name so many Thanksgivings where nobody knows what's happening or who's going where, and 3 different people are independently planning, but they're not letting anybody else know, and then the day of, they're all hurt and they're crying because no one's at their place, or they thought this was happening and it's not, and no one's talking to each other by the end. Everybody hates each other. Everybody's crying on the phone, and I was just like, so that's Thanksgiving, and by Christmas, we're just too damn tired. It's just kind of like, we go in here, yup. Cool.
Oh my God. Do we have the same family?
Sometimes I feel like it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about planning, but yeah, we might have changed Thanksgiving plans like 3 times last minute this year.
Mm-hmm. But I can remember the amount of times where my family, because luckily my parents in general are pretty chill about that stuff. And I remember like so many times hosting Thanksgiving at our house because, yeah, no one could make a decision or communicate with anyone. So we would usually just be like, hey, for anyone wondering, we're going to host. If you want to come, cool. If not, don't. Just let us know so we know how much food to have. And we
Perfect.
We wouldn't care if 4 people showed up or 14. But
no notes.
Yep.
Wow. I need to smoke some weed now.
Okay.
I've been saving the last of my weed for after this episode. So next week is the last one before Christmas. I think we should take Christmas off just as a treat.
I think so too.
So yeah, maybe next week we can do the Q&A episode we keep talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming people give a shit. Assuming I post about it.
People, ask us questions.
Yeah. Ask us questions.
I mean, hey, we kind of got a preview because Orion asked us a question at the end and we answered it. So there.
Yes, thank you, Orion.
Do something like that.
Yeah, I forgot to thank Orion for that. Also, I'm so sorry about Lil Homie.
Me too.
That sucks.
I was really sad to hear that.
Yeah. Well, on that note.
I knew you were going to say on that note.
Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. If you like what you heard, tell a friend about the podcast. You can send them to picklesandvodka.substack.com, where they can listen to our entire catalog and find our newest merch. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us a voice message at speakpipe.com/picklesandvodka. My personal Instagram is at xtinajumper, and Lauren's is at Lauren_AFH. We'll see you next week.